Good morning. Today I will discuss about the other three mechanisms of causing edema. I have already explained you the three mechanisms, that is decreased plasma oncotic pressure, increased hydrostatic pressure and lymphatic obstruction. These three mechanisms I have already explained in the previous class. Now today I will explain about the tissue factors, increased capillary permeability and sodium and water retention. So first coming to tissue factors. There are two forces in the interstitial tissue space. One is oncotic pressure of the interstitial space and another force is tissue tension or hydrostatic pressure of the interstitial tissue space. Though they are normally quite small and insignificant, to counteract the effective plasma osmotic pressure and capillary hydrostatic pressure respectively. But with the help of other factors, they do not cause independently, they do not cause edema, but with the help of other factors, they can cause edema. So in some situation, these two factors, oncotic pressure and tissue tension, in combination with other mechanisms, they play a role in causation of edema. So let us see in what are the examples. That is, if there is elevation of osmotic pressure of interstitial fluid. So when it will occur? If the plasma will leak from the vessels. When plasma will leak, if there will be increased vascular permeability. So if there is increased vascular permeability and the plasma protein is leaked from the vessels, and simultaneously if there is inadequate removal of proteins by the lymphatics, in that case there will be elevation of osmotic pressure of interstitial fluid. And sometimes there are some loose subcutaneous tissue in our body. So in case of eyelids, external genitalia. So in these areas there is lowest tissue tension. So when tissue tension will be lower in this area, but it independently does not cause the edema. But with the help of, if there is simultaneously increase of hydrostatic pressure of the arterial end, or there is decreased osmotic pressure, then in that case the first edema will be seen in the eyelids and external genitalia. So these are the tissue factors which help in causing the edema. Now coming to increased capillary permeability. You all know that an intact capillary endothelium is a semi-permeable membrane which permits the free flow of water and crystalloids, that is electrolytes, but allows minimal passage of plasma proteins normally. You already know this. But when this capillary endothelium is injured by various capillary poisons such as toxins, histamine, due to anoxia, due to venoms, due to various drugs, so the capillary permeability to plasma protein is enhanced due to development of gaps between the endothelial cells, leading to leakage of plasma protein into interstitial fluid. So what will happen then? So this will reduce the plasma oncotic pressure, and simultaneously there will be also oncotic pressure will be increased in the interstitial tissue space. So here there is decreased osmotic pressure and simultaneously since plasma is leaked to the interstitial tissue fluid, so the osmotic pressure of the tissue fluid will also increased. So that will lead to edema. So for example, generalized edema, with this mechanism there may be general edema or there may be localized edema. So generalized edema occurs when there will be systemic infection, if there is poisoning, if there is anaphylactic reaction, if there is anoxia. So in that case there will be general anasarca or dropsy. Then localized edema, that is inflammatory edema as seen in infection, local allergic reaction, if there is insect bite, and in this case there will be the edema fluid is exudate in nature. And there are some other example of localized edema, that is angioneurotic edema, when there is acute attack of localized edema occurring on the skin of face and trunk, and that may involve lips, larynx, pharynx and lungs. So it is possibly may be due to neurogenic cause or allergic in origin. Now the last mechanism is the sodium and water retention. So you normally know that sodium, about 80% of sodium is reabsorbed by the proximal convoluted tubule under the influence of two mechanisms, that is intrinsic renal mechanism or extrarenal mechanism. But in response to this sodium retention, the retention of water is affected by release of antidiuretic hormone. So let us understand from this figure that this first is the intrinsic renal mechanism. When there is this mechanism is activated in response to sudden reduction in arterial blood pressure, that is due to hypovolemia. If there is increased permeability, fluid is leaked from the vessels, so in response to that there may be hypovolemia. In case of severe hemorrhage, you might have known that in severe hemorrhage there will be hypovolemia. So when there is hypovolemia, that will stimulate the baroreceptor present in the carotid sinus and aortic arch, which in turn send the sympathetic outflow via the vasomotor center. Okay. Then due to this, when there is this signal will reach the vasomotor through sympathetic outflow to the vasomotor center, that will lead to the renal ischemia, which causes reduction of glomerular filtration rate. When there is reduction of glomerular filtration rate, so there will be decreased excretion of sodium, so that lead to increase in sodium. And why there is water retention due to sodium? That will be by the ADH mechanism. So when there is sodium and water retained, that will lead to increased blood pressure, and finally that will lead to the edema. Now coming to extrarenal mechanism. This mechanism involves the secretion of aldosterone, which is a sodium retaining hormone, by the renin angiotensin aldosterone system. You know that renin, here this renin, this is an enzyme secreted by the granular cells in the juxtaglomerular apparatus, that is secreted from the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So when it will be released, this release of renin is stimulated in response to low concentration of sodium in the tubule due to renal ischemia, that is due to hypovolemia. When there is hypovolemia, there will be renal ischemia, so there will be decrease sodium in renal tubules. So in response to that, the renin will be released, and this renin, when there is release of renin, then that will be stimulated, and when it is stimulated, that will form the angiotensin 1 in plasma, which is subsequently converted into angiotensin 2 in lungs and kidneys by angiotensin converting enzyme, that is called ACE. Then angiotensin 2, when it is formed, it will stimulate the release of aldosterone hormone from the adrenal cortex, and you know this aldosterone hormone is sodium retaining hormone. So there will be sodium and water retention leading to the increased capillary hydrostatic pressure that will lead to edema. Now this ADH mechanism, antidiuretic hormone. So retention of sodium leads to retention of water, that is secondarily under the influence of antidiuretic hormone. In other words, we call it as vasopressin. You know this antidiuretic hormone is released from the hypothalamus, and it is stored in the neurohypophysis, or that is called posterior pituitary. So the release of this ADH is stimulated by when there will be increased concentration of sodium in the plasma. When the more sodium will be reabsorbed into the kidney tubules, so that will be more sodium in the plasma. So this, in response to that, either more retention concentration of sodium in the plasma, or that may be released due to the in response to hypovolemia. Both causes. If there is increase in sodium concentration in the plasma, and if there is also hypovolemia, then in response to this both, the antidiuretic hormone from the posterior pituitary is released, which does not allow the water to be passed from the urine. So that will lead to retention of water, and this retention will cause the increase in blood pressure, capillary hydrostatic pressure, that may lead to the edema. So this is the intrinsic renal mechanism. This is the external mechanism, that is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, and in response to both of these, when there will be retention of sodium and subsequently hypovolemia, this antidiuretic hormone will be released, which cause the retention of water, that lead to increased capillary hydrostatic pressure and lead to edema. Then what are the factors responsible for the edema through this mechanism? So first factor is the reduced glomerular filtration rate in response to hypovolemia. When there will be hypovolemia, there will be reduced GFR. Then second is the enhanced tubular reabsorption of sodium, and consequently its decreased renal excretion. If there will be increased tubular reabsorption of sodium, so subsequently there will be decreased excretion of renal excretion of sodium, that may lead to increase in the plasma level, plasma concentration. Then third is the increased filtration factor, that is if there is increased filtration of plasma from the glomerulus. If there is increased filtration of plasma from the glomerulus, then that may lead to, along with the plasma fluid will go, that may again lead to hypovolemia, and other factors also. Then last factor is the decreased capillary hydrostatic pressure, along with, which is associated with increased renal vascular resistance. So examples of this edema by this mechanism, that is edema of cardiac disease, that is in case of congestive cardiac failure, that may lead to hypovolemia in the arterial system. Ascites of liver disease in case of cirrhosis of liver. edema of renal disease, that is in nephrotic syndrome where plasma protein is lost from the glomerulus, then acute glomerulonephritis. So these are the few examples of the edema which is caused due to sodium and water retention. With this I have completed this mechanism of edema by 6 factors. You already I have already explained, and I think this completes the chapter of the edema. Thank you.